The Keeping Nurses at the Bedside Act is poised to pass any day now in the Minnesota legislature, but it appears that there is a long way to go before a compromise is made. The Minnesota Nurses Association says its passage is an absolute must in order to keep patients safe.
Mayo Clinic has adamantly opposed the bill and threatens to pull billions of dollars out of Minnesota if it passes. But the bill doesn't just affect Mayo.
That's right, James. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Raul Correng, and he is the president and CEO of Minnesota Hospital Association. He says it's not just Mayo that opposes the bill. So, Dr. Karani, we've been hearing from Mayo Clinic that this bill is not a good bill, but not much else other than that. Can you explain to us and to viewers why this isn't necessarily good for patients?
You know, this bill has a pretty jazzy name, Keeping Nurses at the Bedside Act, but it's a pretty problematic bill for our patients that we serve in nonprofit hospitals and healthcares across the state. We have been engaging in good faith discussions and negotiations with the bill authors over the last couple of weeks. However, there are still some very problematic pieces that are currently in the bill. The first is that the nurses union, who is the only backer of this bill, which actually represents less than 20% of the nurses in Minnesota. One of the things that they're pushing is to take decision-making about patient care and staffing outside the hospitals and into the litigation arbitration process in the legal system. We think that's bad. Patient care decisions and staffing decisions on who should take care of the patient needs to remain inside the hospital, because we know those are made on a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour basis. We don't need lawyers and arbitration and the legal process to take that over.
So is that the crux? Is that the crux of the issue then? Because when we hear understaffing issues and nurses are burnt out, I mean, I think we tend to think, well, we need to support our nurses so we can get better care. But are you saying that that's the crux of the problem right there?
So the crux of the problem with this bill that the union is pushing, that's one of the problems, is trying to take decision-making outside of the hospitals and into the legal process. The other piece that we're really worried about and opposing are the union wants there to be an ability in law for a nurse to refuse a patient for any reason whatsoever. So what we've been talking about is, what about the patient? The patient that needs to be admitted, that is sitting in the emergency department, we don't want in law to be a provision where a nurse can refuse to take a patient. Now, the third and the most important thing is that while it's called, Keeping Nurses at the Bedside Act, we know that there are over 5,000 open RN, registered nurse, open positions in Minnesota. This bill does nothing to solve for the crisis in workforce shortage. What we believe and what we have been supporting is we need to inspire high school students and college students to choose nursing and choose healthcare as a provision and as a profession. This bill does nothing to help with the root cause of the problem.
Interesting, because he said those three issues, and it's been really was enlightening for me today, because we've heard so much from the nurses union, which I thought was interesting, only represents less than 20% of the nurses in Minnesota. But to hear the other side and have it explained in a way that helps us understand what the problems are within the bill, because bills, they're so involved and so in depth that this was really insightful.
Yeah, he brought up a lot of interesting points and points that I haven't heard before.
Yeah, me either. Thank you.